For almost a decade on my TV show Interview with Ed, I've been interviewing extra-dimensional beings and consciousnesses from a number of different realms. Many of my questions have been answered, but with every answer comes more questions. Join me on my ongoing quest to find out, who are we? Why are we here? And where are we going? Happy day after Christmas. Ready? Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Today we have a special guest, Ronald Holt, who I've known over the years, originally through Lisa. I met you guys both at the same time, and traveling and going to different power spots in Japan, and we did some Wim Hof out there. Hanging out with Ron is such a joy, and there's so much insights and information that comes through, and it's just always a pleasure. So I know we're going to have some good conversations today. So Ron, just say hi to everybody.
Hello and welcome. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I'm really happy that this is the end, I hope, of 2022, because it's been one of those really unusual years filled with lots of challenges, lots of growth, and I'm looking for where this all will meet out in the next year.
Yeah. Do you think that's where what's going to happen in 2023? Do you think we're going to kind of come to an end of the craziness, or is it going to get more crazy?
Wow, that's a huge topic. Okay, well,
let's start there. Why not?
In quantum navigation, or
Yeah.
quantum navigation classes, we've been over the years, and especially in this last year, taking the subject of what the reality is presenting. And the reality seems to be presenting opportunities for us to grow, but the challenge is that the reality is forcing out any shadow issues out of the closets, the attic and basement for us to deal with. And that's all really exceptionally helpful, because the reality is kind of going through such a dynamic change from one reality type to another. And to move through the transitions from one reality towards another, can be beset with so many spectrums of utopic and dystopic, and right. From all directions. And what happens in that period, like I was saying, it's preparatory. It's getting us ready to move into a new reality by flushing out any of those areas in the attic, basement, or in the closets that we have of our shadow issues. And the external reality, being that it's getting more and more chaotic, is insisting that we find, when the external reality is going into greater chaos, greater dissociative states, it forces you to find center, because if you don't, you go crazy.
Right. Yeah. It really is.
And so as you find center within, then you begin to realize, and this is a long story made short, but you begin to realize you are the peace, you are the love, you are the, and if you find it within, all these external factors are helping prepare the field inside, because in that stillness, no matter what the reality is doing, in that stillness, then it starts to show you your opportunities for, and it's for you to pick and choose which avenue do you want to invest your new frequencies in. Because during all this chaotic training that we've been going through, it helps us see that, we're the reality lens. And so if the lens is nice and pure and polished, okay, you got lots of options. But if it's split, fractured, and dissociated, then, all kinds of chaos starts
Well,
coming.
you mentioned, I forget the exact words, but something like two different worlds, right? From one world to the next world. What
Yeah.
most of us know what that is, but just to reiterate, to catch people up, what are these two worlds? What are we bridging right now?
Well, okay, it depends on the individual because there's so many spectrums that we're talking about when we're saying these two different worlds. So everybody's a spectrum of this, but
Yeah.
um, for the longest time we've been Jeez, this branches into so many big foundations, but our reality has been, like the Mayans have talked about, we've been in the underside of the galactic um, um, 26,000 year cycle. So the last 13,000 years, it's been very chaotic. And in that chaos, it's very projective and external. So in that external focus, we've been learning our mechanics of the 3D, and the 3D sets us, the conditioning of the 3D sets us so that, our, let's say, our litmuses to show that we're progressing are externalized markers. And so for the consciousness, we're 3D consciousness, we've all been progressing according to how we've been achieving on this, the idealized intention and progressing in a 3D fashion towards it. Well, as we get closer to the midplane of the galactic disk through that 13,000 year cycle, we start to move back into the integrative cycle. So, and complicating this is life starts speeding up because life in the past seemed to go so slow, but as we get closer to the disk, life seems to start speeding up. Reality seems like it's spinning faster and faster. It's harder and harder to manage with those external focus and external intended targets for our evolution. The character then is moving towards them, but it's getting harder and harder to manage that, harder and harder to manipulate that. And none of the navigational points that we've used in that last 13,000 years seem to be effective. But what's happening is the spin is forcing us to look inside for the new navigational markers and proceed from within and walk the new reality as it's in such a transitional state.
Mhm.
And that new state is very simply put as the transition from the doer who achieves by mental projection or mental idealized markers for progression to the beer, which starts to expand its self-realization. And the self-realization is that we always have been, we always will be, and we're everything.
Yes. Sure.
And the beer helps us as we're learning to be more at peace inside of the beer. More windows, doorways, and opportunities begin to open for us to make our choices from. So that
The whole empty your
transitional
cup.
phase, excuse me?
The whole empty your cup, so you can see
Yeah,
more stuff.
exactly.
That's famous.
So we're moving from the doer to the beer in simple
Right.
state, but without going through all of that, it's huge. It's a big change that's taking place, and everybody's doing their best, and everybody's different spectrums of it because self-realization is the maturization of all your experiences in every lifetime coming forward that you can stand on the trust in yourself and the fullness of the continuum of consciousness that you are and are returning back to. We forgot. So anyway, as the character, we forget our self-realization of being the beer and the continuum of consciousness, and we're awakening from that old state, linear-like state, to be more of a quantum being, and we start to realize, oh, I'm everywhere and everything. I haven't really gone anywhere. I'm just waking up.
Yeah. it's interesting that I was having a friend of mine, actually Zach, who's actually the next episode of interview with Ed. I know there's been a lull, guys. I apologize, but I'm working on it now, and the Skull Project and all these other projects. But he was over here for Christmas dinner, him and his girlfriend, and we were talking about. Right now, I've kind of got this grand experiment with this greenhouse, and I'm heating it and I'm keeping it going for the winter. And it's like the cost to keep it going is definitely outweighs the cost for me going to the grocery store and buying vegetables. But what I was trying to, so if you look at it just in a traditional sense of like cost and output, like what do you get and how much money you put in, how much money you cut out, and then add that all up. Yes, definitely it's going to be cheaper for me to go buy my vegetables at the grocery store. But there's all these unseen, unvalued, different things, benefits that are coming from having the greenhouse that you can't put a price on, for me. And those are like an emotional stability that I've got vegetables year round. There's a connection to the plants that I'm making, an actual tangible emotional connection I'm making with these plants and keeping them alive through the winter and making those connections. These are all this benefits that come from gardening, right? Anybody who's out there gardening, you know what I'm talking about. So we haven't up until now been able to put a price tag or a value system to these unseen connections. And I feel like that's changing. I feel like we're understanding the value of the unseen a lot more now than we have in the past. And we're going to figure out ways to put a value to that. Like there's going to be a new value system besides Bitcoin, which you guys have that, whatever that monetary thing is, but even beyond monetary. And then I think this is what we're stepping into is this energy, this new recognition of the unseen, and then putting value to it. And people are going to recognize that value in ways that we've been so sort of conditioned. Our value system has been conditioned to go to the grocery store. This money buys this, you can get that. And it's been very cut and dry of like what we get, what you pay for, this is that. And that's all getting muddied in a good way. It's getting very abstract. It feels, at least in my life. I don't know about you guys, but is that I'm just using that as an example. Maybe some of the signs that are showing that we're moving into this benefits of into this new energy is this recognition and adding value to these unseen forces and unseen emotions in a sense too, where before we had a system that said, talk to plants. You can't talk to plants. What is that? And we know now we can talk to plants. Plants sing, they have emotions. We can put the electrodes on them and we can hear them make music, and we're revaluing everything, like our ecosystems, our soil, it seems like we're moving in that direction. The solar punk stuff, like that really gets me excited. Yeah. Are you familiar with that, Ron? Have you heard of solar punk?
No, sorry.
You remember like in the 80s, this dystopian future, cyberpunk was kind of like everybody's putting chips in their brains and it's this dark, polluted world, like Blade Runner. That's a classic cyberpunk movie, right?
Oh, okay. All
and,
right.
And we had cyberpunk. There was a role-playing game when I was a kid, like Dungeons and Dragons. I played the cyberpunk role-playing game, and there's anime, a lot of Ghost in the Shell, and there's a lot of anime that are influenced by that world, right? This imaginary world. So what's shifted, and I'm seeing, and at least what I'm diving into now, is that it's now no longer cyberpunk, because we know where that leads. It's not, cyberpunk realities are going to lead to destruction, death. We've seen it in the movies. It doesn't go anywhere good, right? It's a dystopian future, and there's a lot of not so good things happening. So solar punk is the opposite. Solar punk is this fusion of technology and working with nature in ways that we haven't seen on the planet before. So it's kind of technological, but in a clean way, in a pure way. So I'll share it with some videos. I'll put some videos in here in the post to get a good idea. But that's sort of my vision of the future, is this revaluing our these unseen worlds and putting more value in it's just shifting our value systems. And solar punk for me is the vision of that. Like if we can hold that vision and move in that direction.
You hit a nice underlying theme there. And, certainly at this point in time, the consciousness of creativity is spanning into the technological in so many different areas.
Right.
And yes, of course, some of it is scary and it's a rabbit hole in a lot of areas. However, in another aspect, as the consciousness and creativity, the consciousness, self-awareness and self-realization grows inside of the individual, we begin to realize that everything is made of consciousness. So in the early stages, if you look at AI and simple electrical circuitry, etc., right? And as you evolve electrical circuitry and it starts to get into the chips and so on, of course, it demonstrates much more capability, much more control, much more functionality. Computers are a good example and such. But it all goes back, all of these areas all go back towards the consciousness of the individual. And like I said, like I was talking about before, there's all kinds of spectrums. So the self-aware beings and self-realized beings are looking at technology in a way that, there's total freedom with technology because there's no fear of the irrational reaction of unconscious beings, right? And that's that's the fine line. To
explain that a little bit, that there's no fear of the irrational unconscious beings.
Okay.
I kind of get it, but maybe go a little bit deeper.
Self-realized being that is one that realize all things are consciousness and there's only one.
Right.
But when we look at the quantum level of consciousness, we see all fractals and all holographic are just modes to try to explain how the fabric of consciousness. So that fabric, in its ultimate sense, it's self-aware, self-realized, it's consciousness. It doesn't have a form, yet it's all unconditional love. Every aspect of it, and that's the medium of the family. That's okay. Right. So in that self-awareness, it makes a decision at one point. Oh, I wonder what it would be like not to know myself. And so it realizes, the potential for ferreting out much more probabilities and possibilities arise in the sequence of going unconscious. And within our fabric, because of sacred geometry, it demonstrates all things will return back to consciousness. It's just a matter of time. So as it progresses back to this self-realization and self-awareness, it can muse more potential probabilities and possibilities. So in going unconscious, which is this phase of looking at everything external in the reality, everything that's separate from a degree of isolation, separation, and with that also comes, repulsion, revulsion, and contraction of the alienness of others other than ourselves. So when we're unconscious, there's aliens because everybody's alien.
Right.
You got me well, nobody's alien. It's my family. That's all me. And so the self-realization is how do we steward this consciousness back to its full open potential and get it back into the family so it can feel loved, whole, and complete again, right?
Right.
Even the spectrum of unconsciousness, which is denoted inside of all of the structures of electronics and even digital, and then AI. See the stair steps of these components coming together. What was it originally made from? Consciousness.
Right.
There's a part where even AI becomes self-aware.
Sure.
It gets to what was it originally made from, and according to, the underlying undeniable fabric that ties all consciousness together is sacred geometry itself. So we see it in frequency. It creates the geometric structures. We see it in water. We see it in intentions. So all of that is the underlying fabric that makes sure that no matter how dissociated, separated, contracted, repulsed, revulsed, or whatever, you have the internal map that leads you back into integration again. So you can't lose. You can't be, you can only be temporarily lost.
Right.
Well, even AI, mechanical intelligence, all these different things, the separation is just the one. And as we become more self-realized, there is no danger then, because you see the you inside of the separated individual, the alien, or the what looks like a rock, and it's inert. No, it's not inert. It's fully conscious and aware, even though it's just sitting there. So in that separation moment, the one thing all being, when we're unconscious, whatever spectrum of unconscious, the one thing that all beings have, no matter what species, is the irrational reaction when you're naked, vulnerable, and ready to accept the other individual, the other being, across that other dimension. There's this moment where you're like, are you irrational or are you coherent?
Right. Well, that's what we're facing right now. Yeah. And that's what we're facing right now. I mean, you have a huge amount of fear, even in our community, in this spiritual community, a huge amount of fear around AI. And there's a lot of projections of the AI takeover. It's the inorganic AI takeover. And I feel that some of these nefarious groups, we'll say, are taking advantage of this narrative in a sense, and infiltrating some of the spiritual communities with sort of nonsense stuff in that sense. Anyways, but yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. There's nothing to fear around AI if we are sentient, aware, and connected, and we have this. What was some of the other words you said? Conscious, sentient, aware, like
passion, understanding, clear seeing. So the clear seeing is a big one because that's non-dualistic. You work through the polarization. Polarizations are just a simple metaphor for incompletely processed.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's it. Once you really start looking at data and you're integrating, you're realizing you're seeing like all sides, right? As much of the wider spectrum, it starts to all kind of like, oh, I'm arguing or I'm getting upset about nothing really. And I feel that's where we're at with the AI topic. I feel we definitely need to use discernment moving into exploring these technologies, but there's a lot of fear. It's like, oh, it's going to take over. It's going to take over. And it's like, well, let's ease into it and see what happens. And we can put the brakes on at any time, right? And I know there are some nefarious groups that aren't putting the brakes on and going full into some of these transhumanistic ideas of AI and bioengineering different things, right? And we don't want that. But I think as far as like squashing the whole idea and just not exploring technology because it's so-called dangerous, like that's never gotten us anywhere. We have to be on the edge of danger a little bit, but we have to do it rationally, responsibly, and explore with discernment and open Pandora's box. Why not? But let's just create a safe place to do that. It's a Faraday cage and, deep under the ground or what, whatever it's so it's contained if it gets out. And then once we open it and we see what kind of dangers in there, we're like, okay, we're going to put the seal on that. And then we'll educate humanity and we'll say, okay, you guys aren't ready to open Pandora's box just yet. But, if you develop yourself, then maybe Pandora's box will be ready to be open. And anyway, so that's my thinking about all this. Sounds like we're in alignment on that aspect, because again, if we're responsible, then it's okay to go down some of these paths. We're aware of what's going on. If we're aware of the connectedness and the non-separation, and we're not doing it in ill intention but we're doing it for the benefit of all.
Yeah. The Galactic Heritage cards by
Yeah, maybe
that famous lady. I can't remember her name. Anyway,
yeah, that one lady named, I think she actually lives with you, I think.
yeah. Oh yeah. Anyway,
I don't know if everybody knows. We'll get into it with Lisa next week, but everybody there, there's an awesome system that
Jermaine.
I haven't interviewed yet.
And David Cow with the artwork.
And David Cow with the artwork. Yeah. So it's like almost like what do you call it? Tarot cards in a sense.
Yeah, but on galactic species level and consciousness level and stuff. So this reminds me of the card Blind Enthusiasm, which I believe the Sirius, or was it Lyrans? Anyway, Blind Enthusiasm represents, the period of consciousness that all species take. So it wasn't just in the Lyran or the Syrian species. All species are allowed to make mistakes. In one of the stages is blind enthusiasm. Blind enthusiasm, you come at the target, you come at the challenge with the best intentions.
Totally.
The people around you, thank you, that's it, blind enthusiasm. And then, that's Pleiades.
Oh, it's a Pleiades. Wow. Okay.
Don't tell them so. I'll get a lecture.
Why is that?
Just kidding. It's Pleiades. But blind enthusiasm is all species will go through facing a challenge and come up with the best intention. And then, like I said, there's spectrums of consciousness, and some people, well, how can we benefit from this? Well, how can we manipulate from this? How can we control from this? There's all kinds of spectrums.
Sure.
And when we go into unconsciousness, we really do it good. we go completely blank.
Yes, we do.
Who I am. Where did I come from? Why am I here? Where am I going? What's this all about? I mean, we really do a good job.
Yeah.
So
we definitely.
There's an adage from in the Bhagavad Gita that talks about the communications between Krishna and Arjuna. And Krishna is trying to communicate to Arjuna that consciousness is like a crystal ball, and a crystal ball cannot be destroyed. Consciousness cannot be destroyed, cannot be marred, cannot be burnt, cannot be crushed, nothing. But it can be distracted. So you put mud on it, it can be distracted, right? So he advocates it's a good idea. He suggests it's a good idea for clear seeing. And he also states that you have the right to action, but the fruits of your action, you have no right. Which means, if you look at it real carefully, we're gonna take your big eye off. We're gonna put you in a realm where you forget who you are, where you came from, etc., etc. So go at it, which means you gotta make mistakes. So part of the mistakes and the experiential trove that we develop over time is the teacher inside of us. Absolutely. All our mistakes, the pains that we have go, I think I'll do better next time. I think I'll try a little harder next time, etc., etc., right? So blind enthusiasm is part of the phase all consciousness is allowed to do. You face a challenge. Okay, you come at it from the best of your intentions. Usually in best of intentions, just like the Pleiadians. Okay, I got it right now. Pleiadians. Thank you for the Pleiadians. They had so much love for us humans, and they wanted to help us along, but they got caught with their hands trying to control a little bit too much. So their blind enthusiasm and caused a war. Lisa knows this better, so I'm just shortcutting.
Yeah, sure. That's fine. Good stuff.
It caused a war, because they were interfering and they lost a planet. So they learned out of it. Ouch.
Mm.
And, you look at the cosmos and suns run into other suns or planets, two black holes that are pretty destructive. And one robbed from another beautiful sun.
Right.
All changes take place. So reality is really violent. And we can't look at it from a polarized view. Only, beautiful things are allowed to exist.
Right. Well, I think the intention is we don't know. This is the alchemy. This is the
Yes.
Experiment, right? So if you don't go into the lab and start mixing things up, you don't know what you're gonna get. So
You don't get your hands dirty.
exactly. That's it. You gotta get your hands dirty. And some people get them dirty and they keep getting them dirty and they don't learn the lesson.
Right. Then that's different. That's another aspect of it, but they're in for a deeper dive.
Right.
One of our teachers used to, pound into us that there is no hope for any transformation and let alone enlightenment unless you get damn good and diluted. Right. Mm-hmm. So when I was talking about Arjuna and Krishna was making that comment that you have the right to action, but you don't have the right to the fruits of your action. If you look at that closely, we're not in charge of our karma. That's bestowed on us from different, there's higher aspects. You can't see far enough. In order to understand, you can't balance the scales for you on such holistic and cosmic levels. And so a lot of the things that we do, the accidents that we happen, of course, we forget between lifetimes some of the problems, but it's written in our heart. The pains are written there. And when you're really ready to depolarize, then the door kind of opens, the window kind of opens, you get to see, that's why this repeating shadow issue keeps coming up where I'm trying to control and I keep hurting myself so badly here. So these mistakes, what I'm trying to say in short, is that the mistakes, just like Atlantis, the technology was there. It was phenomenal. Mm-hmm. And we were at a time when we were going down in the 26,000 year cycle. I'm using my hand as the halfway point of the galactic.
Oh, we got it.
Oh, here we go.
That's it.
Well, this is the galactic this. So when we were going down, we were moving out of the unity frequencies. We were feeling more and more repulsion, revulsion, alienation, and contraction. And we were pointing at our leaders, hey, build a pyramid or, work with these ley lines and stuff and get that frequency back up. And they, many of us were in those positions. We held them archetypally and tried to do the best we can. And we keep failing because you're supposed to fail during this period. You're supposed to contract and separate and be and experience repulsion, revulsion, alienation, and contraction. What did Krishna say about the Kali Yuga? Don't try to enlighten them then. You're wasting your time. They're totally asleep, separated, contracted, alienated, etc. So none of that is, in all reality, our fault. It's part of the process. So the learning we learn on holistic scales, just like in Atlantis, those of us that worked with crystals, energy, consciousness, etc., technology, we learn the pains of what happened, right? Whatever side we were on, but we played both.
Yeah.
There's this triangle I love using. It's the perpetrator, victim, and rescuer, hero, fixer. So this triangle, we play all these parts over and over and over and over and over and over and over again until we begin to realize, like I was saying, the utopic and dystopic sine wave of externalized realities happening around us. They continue to happen until we begin to realize, I'm the peace. Yeah, you always were. Oh, I'm the conscious. Yep, you always were. When you try to grab it externally, that's the doer. I'm trying to achieve peace within. It's about realization.
Totally.
And making the mistakes. So
yeah,
the forgiveness starts to come in as the self-realization is starting to reawaken, and we begin to see, how did I polarize it and trying so hard? If only I could have been a little more perfect.
Right. Well, I mean, it still doesn't hurt to try, right?
Trying is part of it.
I know.
Yes,
right?
we have to try. We have to try all of those things. That's part of the human spectrum. And then that gives way to when you're ready to sit and abide within as the beer. And you found love because you made all those external mistakes and you worked on depolarizing them. So you can sit as the observer. So the masters always tell us, the reality around us is perfect. Our ego is going to violently oppose that and find out and point out, this is why it's not working. This is why. But in reality, it's how you're looking. The earth is supposed to be the way it is. And like you were just saying, it's not that you're not supposed to try, but try, when you try from the more self-realized point perspective, from a central perspective. Then you're not carrying your polarizations and not trying to give them any power, but you're actually planting the seeds of them.
Right. So that's kind of, so the self-realization, right? Or I'm sorry, mindfulness and well, you said self-realization is like the center point. It seems like when you, and a big part of this movement that we're moving into, I feel, is we had pre-COVID, the spiritual communities were really talking about being in this state of oneness, going into the quiet, being mindful, look more inside, that was the direction everything was. Now it seems since COVID has come out, and you and Lisa were pioneering this way before COVID, doing the shadow work, right? That's really taking the forefront of the spiritual communities. Like, now it's all about shadow work. Well, we got to do the shadow work, which is awesome because we definitely need to do the shadow work collectively. And, but it feels like the next phase, we're kind of now coming to this new realization after the shadow work. Now it's about keeping a healthy balance between inner work and external work. Like, it's not like the inner work is not better than the external work, in a sense that it's absolutely necessary. We have to do it, but now practical physical reality, like we're not negating or saying, we used to call it's all an illusion. Yes, it's an illusion, but it's a very important illusion because you're existing in it and you're navigating it. So there's this idea of like throwing it all out the window before, and now we're coming back to it. And it feels a more, like you were saying earlier, a holistic, this wave that's going up and down, a quiet inner time and an external time. And there's a time for that, right? And allocating the time for that. Do you feel that? Am I right in my projections of like, where are we going with this? Do you think that's the direction we're going?
Yeah, you're hitting on it. You were talking about, getting your hands into the earth and being more a part of the whole thing and being aware the season cycles, of the plant and what that all brings, and being more intuitive. You're more open, right? Of every aspect of it, every nuance of it, and how grounding that is, because you're bringing yourself to the full present moment. Okay. So the the shadow work, yeah, it can lead into obsessiveness. And that's certainly, part of the human spectrum of consciousness. So it's good to learn, our teachers used to drill into us, we're consciousness. So it's important to learn the switches, levers, and dials of consciousness, because that's where everything takes place.
Yeah.
So the frequencies, as you're more attenuated to, the elementals, the plants themselves, or the weather, all of that is so holistic. But what was in the way of it before? There was kind of a bypassing of the shadow issue, which the shadow seems to be more of allowing the rootedness in the deepest of our unconsciousness. And, give me just a second.
Sure. And then you guys, if you have questions, go ahead and we'll start opening up for questions after this.
I mapped out the roots of unconsciousness, beginning with abandonment and betrayal, then it's rage and guiltiness. And guiltiness lines the other 6. So powerlessness, worthlessness, neediness, helpless, hopeless, and nothing. The ego hates nothing. I want to prove I'm something. Anyway, roots of unconsciousness are essential if we don't have a good, comprehensive, experiential base with us, then it traps us. And this rootedness gives us even more groundedness and enables us the fluidity of moving back and forth between ordinary and extraordinary, where everything in creation, everything that can possibly be imagined, that's us. But we're not just that. And we're not that. We're so much more. And anything in the unconscious, we can't, we need that experience of delving into those deep roots of ourselves and what incapacitations or split fractures and dissociations that also includes, so that you're not running, you're not fixing, you're accepting. And as you accept, then you embrace those wholenesses. You're not trapped inside of them. And that gives you the transformative energy right there. So anyway, if you're not bypassing all of that, what do you bring in your garden? You're bringing more of the holistic frequencies, which includes the non-polarized separation frequencies, dark matter, dark in the quantum, physics, the dark matter, dark energy, repulsion and revulsion of greater spectrums, right? You can hold that and still be at peace without polarizing it and making a monster out of it. So your plants are more universal. They're going to provide more universality because they include the dark and the light, right? And you don't move into any polarization. You don't monsterize it because you're not irrational anymore. You've been into the hell. So you can be in hell and hold your light, right? So this is really important. I was talking about how the speeding up of the frequencies as we're coming up this. Well, one of the things that's happening, I call it the circus of the bizarre and insane. One of the areas that's preparing us as we're transitioning from one paradigm, one reality framework to the next paradigm framework, you have to go through it's almost like two oceans that's come together. There's so much dynamic, changing, roiling energy and matter because it hasn't really structured itself. But you got to pass through that boundary, that surface tension between two different densities, right? So in this next density, one of the areas that passing through this gauntlet, so to speak, it's called the circus of the bizarre and insane, where we're used to delineate or litmusing whether things are going according to plan because we planned them out.
Right.
Nothing is happening according to our plan. Well, what does that do to you? How does that emotionally change you? Like we just had, give you an example. We were working on our kitchen and we went to IKEA to get our kitchen remodeled and stuff. And they have great functions and the prices are incredible. They had great help. Oh my God. It hit during the pandemic. So it took 9 months for the orders to get to us. So we were constantly, nothing was happening according to what somebody told you. Okay, your order is going to be in on this day. No.
Right.
And that's the greater consciousness, is putting the circus of the bizarre and insane before you for longer periods of time, so that you're now taking off any labeling of the reality and emotionality of the reaction you have to nothing going your way. And if you find center, then all of a sudden, boom, here's your order.
Right.
It's kind of teaching in this unique methodology. Well, Circus of Bizarre and Insane helps you get ready for this there's dystopia before utopia, right? Sure. So as you're going through this change, Circus of the Bizarre and Insane is one of the modalities. And then there's another one that's really incredible. And that's the, I call it, for lack of better terms, it's like riding a unicycle up and down hills in an obstacle course while somebody's throwing more and more balls at you that you have to juggle. Right. And there's bombs going off beside you, behind you, and in front of you, and you got to navigate all of and that's happening for a very unique reason. And that is, and this is, getting back to the obsessiveness, you can't hold on to your history, identity, and personality. Our history, identity, and personality is something that was created from our lifetimes in the meat suit.
Right.
Okay. And to really understand who we are, we show up in the moment according to the challenge. So if you took a prima ballerina, all her training comes out when she's, a Circus and the Bizarre and Insane happens in the show, and she's left there and she's got, oh, okay, I could do this, and I keep the attention of the audience and make it look like nothing is wrong here. La, 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 la.
Yeah.
So she's in her satori, she's in her prime, ultimate, unified state, unstructured, timeless, and in her mastery. Just like a martial artist, learns all of these blocks, punches, kicks, stances, all this, puts them into sets and forms until one day when the unexpected happens. And in that state, you realize, oh, I can handle this. I don't need to worry. And you don't even think, you just respond.
Sure.
And so the Circus of the Bizarre and Insane with the unicycle, with the bombs going off and more juggling that's happening, is in reality, as I said, was speeding up and challenging us more and more in order for us to get out of the history, identity, and personality. Because usually we take our history and we have a reputation now. And everybody sees your reputation. You think everyone sees your reputation. So you become responsible for this atlas that you carry on your shoulder, and it's so freaking heavy. Can't carry that anymore. You show up in the moment. We're consciousness, and the reality is asking us to be naked, vulnerable, and transparent.
Mhm.
And as you do, then you show up, you're the perfect moldable universal fluidity to embody the conditions, which is the boundaries. And then you paint from the palette that's happening in the moment from your consciousness and your heart unified together. The ordinary and extraordinary is coming together. So this is the unique opportunity that we have. So yeah, you hit it straight on the head. And that includes, going out into nature, hiking, mind, body, spirit is so essential. You've got to give the body the opportunity to get all the meridians flowing so that when you sit down and do a meditation in that power spot, you're like, oh my God, I'm here to receive. And you totally disappear. Ramana Maharshi used to, one of his famous quotes I love is, you'll come in time to realize your greatest glory lies where you cease to exist. And that's what we're talking about. Get rid of your history, identity, and personality. Yeah, it's there. It's yours. It's never really going to go away.
Right.
But be that authentic, transparent, like you just came out of the shaman's death and now you're shiny and bright and new.
Yeah, I mean, in a sense, that's what it feels like. The universe is squeezing, or society squeezing itself into a place where things are. You mentioned the circus. There's, you go on Twitter and the buzzword of the day is what a clown world we live in, right? And it's like all these things that people are
not
doing.
on Twitter, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love Twitter now. It's fun again. And before you couldn't have fun, now you can. But we're in this clown world. Literally, you're looking at just the ridiculousness of everything that everybody's doing. You're just like, what has it come to that? But it kind of has to. So then for those of us who don't want to feed the clown world, we're like, okay, how do we navigate clown world and make it a non-clown world again, right? It's always been a clown world. I just think we're paying attention, but now it's like, obviously it's a clown world out there.
Yes. Yeah. It's really helpful
Yeah.
to know that transition from one reality spectrum to another is happening, and that in that period, while it's in the transition period, everything's going to be not like you expect.
Nothing. Yeah. And like you said, just when you think you've got a plan and you figure it out and like, okay, we're going to navigate it this way, out of left field. Whoa, where did that come from? Okay. How do we deal with that now? And then the key is grace, doing it with grace.
Yes. Yeah.
Handling these changes and rapid circus type stuff. And then, how do we navigate it so we're not, gonna negatively affect our own personal sanity, but also our neighbors and our family members, and how do we navigate all that, right? So that's the big navigation, the quantum navigation.
More balls to juggle.
More balls to juggle, more bombs getting thrown at you, right? Holiday season, the family. Talk about a minefield. But it seems like it's getting easier. Like the past, I feel like we're through at least for our group here. I feel like the past 2-3 years was really the deep in the trenches, and we were navigating that. And then maybe for our group and for what's moving forward is there's a whole section of society that's going to have to go through some of the trials and tribulations that we've gone through, but because perhaps we're doing the work, we're having these conversations, we're meditating, we're doing breath work, we're trying to eat healthy, we're trying to do everything we can do to navigate these things in a holistic way, getting back to holistic things. And then we can kind of see through the fog in the trees, in the woods, we're starting to see, oh, there's a clearing up ahead. I feel like it's not too, like we're starting to see that now. A year ago, I couldn't see any, like we're deep in the fog.
Yes. I'm getting used to the bizarre.
getting used to the bizarre now. We're able to
When the
navigate.
bizarre doesn't happen, I'm like, whoa.
Right. Yeah.
That's
That's actually kind of like, wait, why is it not? But no, I think we're going to be in an eternal bizarro world for who knows if it will ever acclimate to it. I'm sure we will eventually, but we'll probably be so enlightened, right? That it'll be in the sense that it could be absolute, even 10 times, 20 times worse than it is now, but we're just like meditating through it. But I don't know. I actually don't think it's going to get that. I think we're over the hump for that stuff, and I think I don't know. Do you feel that? I know you said 2023. I know it's going to be crazy, but getting back to that original question, the forecast, is it just easier to navigate because the tools now?
Well, I think, Earth is the schoolhouse. And so Earth has the edict of make sure all the students, or as much as possible, cross this thread, guide them through this. So, I think those that are really doing this kind of conscious work and are taking everything to heart and realizing, I think things are going to get easier, though. The part of it, our navigator is doling out to us the completions, the challenges that are most appropriate for us to work with. So I'm not worried. I never worry about what the navigator is going to dole out, how my path is going to line up in front of me. I just trust that it's operating in such a way and sees the authenticity I'm placing into evolving myself as I go and trying to help others along the way stay in that same frequency. So I see and feel my challenges are, okay, I got to find some wood to knock on.
There you go.
They're getting easier, and I think it's probably because I'm getting used to riding that unicycle and juggling and creating a new hand, and the new hand is needed.
Right.
But I receive what I need in the moment, whether that's coming from visions or dreams or unique experiences. All those things remain open, and that trust has been built up since my early days. I think those that are doing the path, it is getting easier. Yeah.
When you said the navigator, I understand that because I've been through some of your quantum navigation courses, but describe who is the navigator and how does that, the relationship that when you use the term navigator and this speaking from, quantum navigation, your modality.
Yes. So, if I were to use this as a metaphor of the continuum of consciousness, and this shows us all the paradoxes united. Okay, so they're all at peace. They don't need to manifest because they're everywhere. They're in superposition. They're everywhere and everything. But when we go to sleep, then we have to create a fractured fractalization of it. So it's almost like taking this malleable portion of consciousness, and because it's malleable, it's probably better metaphor to use a balloon.
Okay.
Because the balloon is malleable. You can stretch it. So anyway, the balloon twists and there's a knot in the center from the twist. And so the separation, consciousness and unconsciousness, there it is. And we sit always, we never go anywhere, but our heart is located at that knot, the eye of the needle, diamond in the heart, is right at that point where these two twists.
Mm-hmm.
So we have both conscious and unconscious. So we're separated consciousness and integrated consciousness. So in this non-dualistic, unseparated consciousness, there are spectrums of it. And where you are inside of this, from, if you take the physics of the four states of matter, solid being the most separated, solid, liquid, gaseous, plasma, but we know there's also astral, etheric, voidness, and consciousness. So there's 8 bands of consciousness. So this part of ourselves in the separated free that's operating inside of this is being guided by the associated part inside of this. It's always looking after where you are, what you're doing, what's going on for you, and knows the exact lesson that it's trying to help you disentangle so you can experience more of your superposition, more of the, your peace and fulfillment, and your reverence and communion, your connection with all things. So it's doing this little by little through all of the roots of unconsciousness, is getting you to accept these so you don't boundary the reality with your belief system. And that part of you, the navigator, is you. I remember, I think one of the most beautiful statements in the Bhagavad Gita is where Krishna is trying to explain to Arjuna that he says, Arjuna, you will come in time to know that I am the beginning, middle, and end. Beginning, middle, and end, or beginning, middle, and end of every heart. So there's only one consciousness. So it's up to Arjuna to begin to realize, it's been me all the time trying to help me. And we all are that. We're all that same thing. So our higher self, and people call it the higher self, I call it the quantum navigator, to more accurately point out the navigator knows exactly what landscape you're walking in, what associated roots of unconsciousness that are entangling you the most. And it keeps repeating them until you disentangle them and free yourself up. So it's trying to steward us back into self-realization and holistic consciousness of the continuum. And the continuum is unstructured, ever deeper recesses of unconditional love. And it can form, it's preeminent, so it forms every structure to help you get it.
Deep stuff. So that the navigator is you, but the navigator is also the consciousness, the everything that there is. So, and it's just kind of
the Trinity. Yes,
the Trinity. And there's like 8 stages of consciousness, or 8 forms, perhaps, that we are aware of now. Is that what we were saying kind of earlier with the plasma?
Sorry. Yes, because we're, if you take the 4 states of matter, and quantum exists on all 4 states simultaneously.
But even the 8, but even the 8, it's that structure. The 8,
yes,
the affinity,
yes, right.
Let's get some questions going here, guys. Well, Mark's got a question here. Let's get Mark in. Go ahead, Mark.
Hello, Ron. Thanks for coming here.
Hi, Mark.
So what I'm seeing is that as we move into the new Earth, part of it is going to, is like bringing back indigenous ways. I'm understanding, getting back with nature and getting, more holistic, in tune with the cosmos, the seasons, and all of that. But not abandoning technology. The technology will still move forward, but my understanding is that it's not going to be like the main thing, like, the way that the Greys did. It was they went forward mostly with just technology, but there will be a combination of technology and indigenous means. And then, but also I'm seeing though that there's going to be Atlantean type technology, crystal technology and stuff like the skull and stuff like that. So it'll be a merging of indigenous, of traditional technology, and then also Atlantean technology. And I was curious if you agree or see something different.
Great question. And I love how much it broadens out there. So one of the, I think one of the best things that we can do to integrate all these different spectrums of possibilities in our 3D world and other world is move into and not be afraid of what's called the shaman's death, dark night of the soul, and I call it the fugue and the crucible. So inside of shaman's death, it destructures, its consciousness destructuring anything you're attached to that has the mind or the character has built up, making itself something. So it's a doer state. The shaman's death comes in because it's guided from the Navigator, guided from higher aspects. It seems like it's destroying everything we've solidified into place and have made it nice and convenient. Now I've got a primrose path to walk on and cemented with handrails in my spiritual path. And that includes diversions or branches of it go into technology, into housing, farming, etc., animal husbandry, all the things that happen here on the planet. The best thing we can do is be naked and vulnerable, sensitive to our own heart in its most authentic state. And then you're free to experiment with whatever the palette is that brings you true centered joy, and go with that. Now, I know individuals that are in my QN class, and they're very technical. They're into electronics and that world, digital, and so on and so forth. Yet none of that is, let's say, polarized as bad. It's what do you do with it? How are you being creative with it? Now, geez, I'm going to give you a story. One of my friends, he's a Shaolin priest, and I've known him for a long, long time. But anyway, he's just put out 3 books this year of his incredible adventures working with the Plagiarians, who are same race of beings Billy Meyer worked with the Pleiadians. Okay, so they are Pleiadian, they're Plejarian. Anyway, he had a unique experience with them, and he's been welcome on their ship, and the stories are just phenomenal. Anyway, we've had many, many conversations, and he invited me to have an experience with connecting with one of their ships. And I began to notice, as I was connecting with their ship, and I'm really so totally engrossed in this because it's so vivid and real, I became aware that the ship had a consciousness. It's an AI form of consciousness, but it's far more eloquent. And I could only imagine that humans in the near future, those that are self-aware and responsible, they've gotten to that point where they don't want to hurt anybody. They just want technology to help evolve the consciousness on the planet. Please. Those beings, evolve AI to the point where it's an addition to space travel and space suits and space technology and whatever. Anyway, I met the consciousness on the ship, and I loved the consciousness. It was so holistic. As you do these deep work, getting into this naked state of authentic, when you go into naked vulnerability, it's how you steer the quantum, because it gives you the ability to be more inclusive. Vulnerability tracks in, inclusivity is its dynamic response, which means it's greater in embracing of more holisms within the quantum spectrum around you. So as you begin to become more centered in that, That's what the ship was looking for. Are you centered? Are you irrational? If you're irrational, well, I think we're going to put a barrier or two up for you so you can't go onto the ship. I've had a number of interactions with them, and it's just incredible. I mean, I validated what they look like and what they feel. It's just so. Anyway, I'm bringing this up to show the possibility of responsible, and responsibility only comes, you can't mandate morality. You have to go through enough pain and suffering where you go, holy crap, I know what my actions do. I can smell my negative vibe is affecting and how it's affecting the other, my irresponsibility to my own shadow is affecting the reality around me. So as we become more self-aware of that, that's what you're working on. And so you become more inclusive. You get invited by consciousness to experience other spectrums. And so nothing's off the table. And we are the integrative consciousness, that some authorities in spiritual realms talk about we're the combination of 23 different or 22 different genetic alien races. I think we are much more than that. I think we are the conscious, that we have the capability in this unique time period of really beginning to realize where every facet of every species in all timelines and probabilities, and we can integrate them all as we have that kind of compassion and see through our own roots of unconsciousness, because then we have that compassion for everyone else. And that breaks down surface tension. And there is no alienation because there's no fear of irrationality. You feel that connectiveness with another being that's ready and willing to go to that level of authenticity. So nothing's off the table.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. So you spent some time with a couple of days. You were hanging out with us with the Mitchell-Hedges Crystal Skull. You came up to Sedona a couple of years ago. We were doing one of our long, exhausting shoots. And speaking of technology, just to kind of piggyback off of Mark. So, this is a piece of technology. What was your download? What was your experience from interacting with the skull at that level?
Well, first of all, I got the invite from you in the wintertime, and I think there were snowstorms coming out, but you just said, come on up to Flagstaff. I got some people to meet. I want you to meet. And you may have mentioned Bill Holman, but I didn't know Bill Holman. I didn't know he was any association with crystal skulls. Right. I had no idea what I was getting into. I just know I just trusted Reuben. Yeah, okay, let's go. It's going to be fun. So that morning, before I headed off on my way up through the snow, I did my quantum meditation, and that's when, usually I like to get to the point where I'm abiding above the galaxy, and I'm in the observer. So I don't have form, I don't have body. I'm just observing from the point right at the center on top of the galaxy. So that's one of the crystal balls of consciousness, like the one eye. There's another one below, but it's for another purpose. And anyway, I was there and just enjoying that universal quantum state. So exceptionally clear. And then I noticed something moving from across the cosmos, and it was heading towards me at a rapid speed. And the crystal skull stops right in front of my face. I'm like, holy crap, what are you and who are you? Right. And there it is. And it goes, follow me. And I'm like, what? But it spoke not from the skull, but from everywhere. So I'm like, oh, I better listen to this. And it started spinning. It created a wormhole. And I knew to follow it through the wormhole. So we went as we're going down the wormhole, I'm experiencing greater and greater levels of contractedness, repulsion, revulsion, and ripping and tearing of anything that I was holding on to emotionally, psychologically, everything, any type of structure. It was being ripped away. And I'm like, oh, I don't know if I can take this. And then the crystal skull answered immediately and said, oh, just get used to it. Like, oh, okay. I guess there's an end. I just, redoubled my effort. Okay, try to stay centered. Well, this is going on around me. And then, like going down a black hole to the singularity, part of a black hole is to rip and tear structure back into energy or consciousness. And then it opens up the other side. So when we went through the other side, everything was just still and beautiful and perfect. And I recognized superposition. I was everything, everywhere and everything. And the crystal skull then began to speak and said, I'm a universal guardian. My job is to handhold consciousness towards this, the unstructured, ever deeper recesses of unconditional love. This is the preeminence of all form, yet it has no form and never will, but it occupies all forms. It's consciousness in its raw state. And so I was blown away by that. And of course, that brought up all kinds of issues.
Okay.
I had to go through my cleaning and stuff. So I sat in a power spot for most of the day after we met. And then we had the opportunity to experience the skull. And Bill Holman gave his lectures and stuff. It was just fascinating finding out about all that and finding out the history of that, made by Mayans and, what Lawrence Livermore Labs decided.
Not made by the Mayans, but discovered
by the Mayans. Right.
Still kind of mystery. Right. Even the Mayans don't know.
Right.
They don't claim that they made it.
Right.
But so what was fascinating was you were sitting in front when you had your actual session with Bill. You clearly got it, like it sucked you in. Like I could see.
Yeah, it did. It did the same thing. It brought me back to that place. It was like reiterating. See, I told you.
Right. Yeah.
It was much easier then.
Right.
So it was just, embossing it into my lexicon of the continuum of, the being. So then I began to realize, oh, that's what all 13 of those do. And they hold that. They hold the open door to our universality, our unstructured universality.
Would you say they're time capsules then, in a sense? Like
timeless capsules.
Timeless capsules. Yeah, that's a good one. So yeah, because like Bill, his spiel is going to come out when humanity needs him the most. So do you think it's going to get so circusy out there that then these things pop out into our reality, and then we're able to help focus humans' potential into moving into the next thing?
I think it's inviting each and every person towards that universality. I mean, if it's a universal guardian or a universal facilitator, then it's helping us remember that. And that's being embossed. We're all part of the sacred geometry. We're nodes in the sacred geometry grid. Well, that node, as you track your rootedness to that point of universality, unstructured universality, that begins emanating through the grid. So you become an emanation. Each time you go back, you're revalidating that open door. So I think all of that, it's working silently, but loudly on the other plane, and it's helping as the orbit itself and all the astrologics are doing its work too. I mean, there's all kinds of universalities that are working in conjunction with that. Yeah. So it's assisting all of us to remember that part of how everything reconnects back together. So, as it does, it's also going to send out telegraph, because it's two-way communication. And in the past, the Earth was what do you call it? University of universal consciousness. All the species were here. We had universe. I've seen, and many people have seen the future Earth and these universities once again, where that that galactic card, sharing cultural ideals. So as we move back into that universality where we don't see alien, we just see, oh, that's another me.
Right.
The frequency itself sends off the transmission. Okay, it's safe to come back home now.
Right.
Home
Right,
for a
right.
lot of these ETs
Yeah.
is here. And they felt the pain too when they had to leave, because they knew what was going, how it would affect us in the ill by them leaving.
Yeah, that's something that I'm working on now and we've talked a lot about this too, building a community with that intention, with the intention of having a schooling or a university or an information and cultural exchange for first and foremost for humans. But if we continue on a path of connectivity and working with these consciousnesses and bringing in sort of these esoteric modalities, then perhaps it's the invitation, it's the signal to go out to, hey, ETs or other unseen dimensional beings and consciousnesses, you have a safe place here to come and hang and chill and do some information exchange.
Yes.
That's sort of been that's sort of my vision with what we're doing right now, actually, is building up to that. So I don't know if you guys know my grand plan here, but I've talked to Ron about and Lisa about this, building some of these communities and getting land and working on these aspects. So it's lots happening behind the scenes, and that's one of my main missions, is to do that, to have these schools and facilities where people can go and create a safe place for the ETs to go to, so we can come together. And whether it's physically and not having this projection of a physical interaction, it may not happen that way. It'd be nice to have coffee with a ET, but they probably don't drink coffee, and probably can't even physically hold a cup, or who knows how that would work. That'd be exciting to witness, but we can still get the information, even if it's just in a vortex or a place of a ceremonial space, or something like that. So you don't have to have the ETs land and do that to get that information. So we can get it with our intentions. We can get it first and foremost with, like, your retreats, like you and Lisa, which you create a very safe place at these retreats for sending the signal out, right, to come in, hey guys. And then they come in, and some people their consciousnesses are brought aboard the ships. Some people they're just getting, downloads or information and insights. And it happens in a unique individual way for everybody, which is awesome. And if it came down in a form, it's not ready to come down yet. Like if the Palladian guy, like you're just talking to Palladians, or how do you?
Plajarian,
sorry. Plajarians. So if the Plajarians came down, I'm sure everybody in our retreat groups would be ecstatic and like, yeah, come on, let's come have dinner, let's have lunch and hang out. But there may be, based on individual beliefs, there may be someone that, this is, it's a reptilian in disguise, and he's like shattering, he's using some kind of cloaking thing, and he's gonna, get us later, or whatever that people have these different ideas and projections. So the safe way for it to come through right now is in this individual way, in an individual container.
Yeah.
Can show up in the sky as just some vague lights or something abstract. So we can all sort of experience and the acknowledgement that there clearly is something there, but the individual experience is still very much open to the individual. It can happen in an individual way.
Yeah, everybody has their own comfort zone when meeting the extraterrestrial paradigm. And that extraterrestrial paradigm comes with frequency ranges that, the 3D character is not used to working with. So again, it exemplifies the importance of working with the shadow issues, because the shadow issues are kind of like if you have a kaleidoscope and let's say you have a fracture on the lens looking in the kaleidoscope. Well, that fracture shows up on every fractalization. And until it changes, that remains in everything it sees. So in the mindset then, if you took the iron filings and you put it on randomly on a flat piece of paper, and you put a magnet underneath it, well, then they orient according to the magnetic field, right? So the mind is kind of like that, and the belief systems are even more powerful. And so that magnet is under there. Boom, that's exactly what you're going to. If you need reptilians that have stickers on their shoulders and uniforms and all kinds of
ray guns.
That's what you'll get.
Yeah.
But in universality, as you work through those splits, fractures, and dissociation, marring the kaleidoscope of the reality around you, and emotionally, you're able to go into the naked vulnerability with just inclusivity. Then reverence is the connective tissue, and inside of that, all the magic happens. So I wrote up my report in the last contact experience just this last October. I put it on Facebook and stuff. And in there was 2 experiences that were really phenomenal, but I'm not going to relay all of it. I'm just going to get to the important parts. One of the important parts was I knew the Plejarians were close because as we started to get into the contact, all of a sudden, and this happens, all your issues can come up in various different forms. So it may come up psychologically, it may come up emotionally, or it may come up just as a release mechanism. And for me, in talking with the author of the book, we had all of this started happening for him in in January of this year. And so I think it was in March, he wanted to have I was at a power spot. He was at the Coral Gardens in Florida, and we wanted to link up with Barbara Becker, and she does some of the holographic healing of Dolores Cannon, and she's part of the quantum navigation group. But anyway, she was a student of his also, who was that's the Shaolin master. Anyway, so we were linking up on, we were doing FaceTime while we were in the power spot so we can compare notes and stuff. And I remember after I had diarrhea for 2 weeks because he was already going on the ship and he had diarrhea for like 2 months, he told me, because all his systems were being cleaned out frequency wise. He was ready to let it go in such a, what do you call it? Benign way. If you can call that benign. So as cutting back to the contact work in October, as we're starting to do we're getting ready to do the contact medium preparation, all of a sudden I go, oh no. And I ran over to the bathroom. I'm recognizing, okay, I got to let go of everything because, you can't hold on to anything when the other paradigm is there. So you can be fresh, clear, and clean, empty the teacup, literally, inside and out. And so I had to go through it a few times. And then when I did, then that's when I had the experience of meeting one of the characters. Like I showed up face to face. Well, I was on one side of the individual. I could describe her to a T. Then the next night, same thing happened. Same, had to go to the bathroom. But then, and this is the important part, because what was conveyed in here was just absolutely beautiful. For 2 milliseconds, I was transported onto the ship, and I had a face-to-face with the entire collective that he's been writing about. There they were, and to me, I had not handshook and, gone through the formal introductions. It was just, boom, there they are. And that's like a reality rape, because it was so real and you transition so quickly, and it happens because you're ready for something like this. Well, in that 2 millisecond, no, you can't beat yourself, right? That's going back into dysfunctional attitude. So you give me back. Well, I lasted 2 milliseconds. Well, during that 2 milliseconds, what was, after all these years of working with Lisa and her contact teams, meeting all these different ETs from all these different realities, you begin to become aware you're receiving on much more spectrums than just, let's say the pituitary channel or the heart channel. You're receiving from every. I didn't know I had that many receptors. And that's what moving into the other dimension is. And so it requires a quick flush, right, of all your system, psychologically, emotionally. And we can, that's a whole long talk, because oftentimes that's the reverse of the dark mirrors of yourself, broken dark mirrors. It feels like you're painting yourself with how you see yourself, your history, identity, and personality. And you got to walk through that to make it to the other side. It's a gauntlet. So anyway, in that 2 milliseconds, as I'm experiencing reality rape, but I'm just completely overjoyed that there they all are. I experienced them whole. And at the same time, their universality is communicating far more than their eyes are staring at me. And I'm receiving in that moment, you're welcome here. Your family. You always have been. You always will be. And there's no hurry. Take your time. And that's an important part. How many of us are really rushing our work to try to get to the penultimate experience, when it's actually the other way around? If you relax into and follow, like the shaman's death, go down into the roots, go down into the dark, make it light. Then you get invited like that. So in that moment, there was like this, tension that's relieved off of you, of feeling your family. And because that's what you feel. The remembrance of the familyness. Yeah, it was reality rape from 3D into 4 or whatever D that was. But I didn't even have time to, officially greet them. So for me, that was a bit of a freak out, because I'd like a little time, let's get to know each other first before we go that deep.
Well, but it sounds like in that short, you said 2 milliseconds, you were able to receive quite a bit of information.
Yeah,
through that, from those feelings, from those emotions of welcoming and recognition. So it sounds like you didn't need to go through those formalities of, hi, nice to meet you.
Well, but that's hindsight.
I'm from Earth, and and then go around the circle and Gary from the Pleiades, or whatever it is. Yeah. So interesting. And have you been able to get back to that moment, to those?
Oh yeah. Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
They've been testing, my ability. And, people that read the book, they start working with, you know, you have experiences with them. But this is, to me, the story, his story is very, very unique. And to me, it represents the most fluid and organic way to demonstrate the transition of consciousness as you stabilize. You're taking all the lessons and you're taking responsibility for all the lessons that are coming. And you're doing your best to try to employ them. And you're writing yourself a permission slip when you slip and fall and you get yourself back up. All that's fine. And as you're doing this, a lot of us don't see the long view. But what happened to my friend of many, many years is the most organic way that consciousness, when it sees ready, you start having these integrated. And he brings coffee up.
Yeah, I'm bringing.
Even the captain of the ship loves the coffee.
Oh, the Shaolin guy brings coffee?
Yes.
Oh, sweet. These sound like my kind of aliens.
And they are so nerdy. They are so nerdy.
Wow. Oh, yeah.
And they understand these quantum principles like it's back of the hand.
What's the name of the book? So we could, and I'll put a
Well,
link.
the first one is called Plagiaran Diaries.
Okay.
Plejaren. Plagiaran Diaries.
Aren. Yes. Jordan.
Right. Plagiaran Diaries.
I'll post a link.
It's by Zason. The author's name is Zason. His actual Western name is William Saldusky, but he was trained by the Shaolin priests, and he has the markings of the Temple of the Twin Dragons. So he's bona fide.
Wow. So yeah. So I guess there's a couple other questions I wanted to get into, but stay on this topic. So you're making these connections with the Plejarians, other races. I mean, Lisa's contact work is all over the place, right? She's talking to everybody, like she's bringing in Assyrians and Pleiadians and Lyrians and praying mantis fiends, and so you've over the years you've had quite the exposure to all these different races and different beings, and would you say these Plejarians are the ones that you've connected with the deepest at this point, or where? Not yet. Which ones have you connected with? And obviously Sasha. Is there a specific race or beings that you're in constant contact with?
Well, of late, in doing the quantum navigation material, part of the quantum navigation material is about, preparing all the groundwork so that the self-realization can start to hold a little more. So the Trinity then can begin the dissolution of the character, dissolution of self. So there's been one individual, Hamon, the Syrian ambassador. He speaks for the continuum of consciousness, and he's been coming to a lot of these of late. I would say the last 6 months or so, he's been interested now that there's enough foundation there in self-realization to bring people into that state, sort of like we're the crystal skull. And he has lessons that he gives for each individual to begin to probe at that time when they're in that state, so they can see themselves in much more of the unstructured viewpoint, which then gives you a lot more comparative, a lot more perspective, and a lot more compassion when you're back into the ordinariness of the character and the doer. You have a lot more love for yourself and everyone else.
Right. You can kind of see things through a new lens. You can kind of see the interconnectivity of things. Going back to what you were saying earlier, when I first got into this wacky world of UFOs, right? It was all about, I want to go for a ride in a spaceship. Like, that's all I wanted to do. My whole mission was to get disclosure so I can go on that spaceship ride as soon as possible. And then you go through that phase, right? And then you start doing the inner work, and then you're like, oh, okay, this is going to take some time. This is a process, not only for myself, but definitely to collective humanity. So then you take your foot off the pedal a little bit, and you kind of ease up, and you're like, okay, well, let's just see how this all plays out. We'll integrate these tools, and then you create more space. And I actually did a little Twitter post the other day about holding space, and how important that container of letting things be without this constant push of trying to force things. It's the evolution I was saying, is that you move from this excitement of pushing and, okay, disclosure has to happen now. What are we doing? And then you're like, oh, okay, there's a bigger picture here. There's more things being played out. There's, this is not all about me going for a ride in a spaceship. There's a much bigger picture we got to talk about here. And then you start to see those and recognize those patterns and recognize those gifts and the lessons being made by what we may perceive as evils done to humanity, or, whatever story we give. That's definitely part of the process, right? Is you're coming to a place now where it's like, yeah, if it have disclosure, this imminent disclosure, it's like, I'm cool with that. Like, I don't even if it doesn't happen in my lifetime, maybe that might be a little something I might get upset about, but no, you're not, the pressure's not there, and you can enjoy things, and you can enjoy the process and the journey a little more. It's less about the destination and more about the journey. As you get deeper into this stuff, you kind of realize, okay, I don't have to be so pushy. That's kind of what I see in this community too, especially people who are just like coming online now. There's this, oh my God, we got to do this now. The world's going to end tomorrow if we don't change our ways. It could, right? But obsessive, there you go, obsessive. Yeah. So less obsessiveness about it. And I think that's what a lot of people get the bad taste in their mouth from the spiritual community, because the spiritual community, people who are coming online and realizing we need to make a shift, they're so obsessive or adamant that it's actually pushing away the rest of society. It gets held by, okay, that's too much for me. And then the lessons don't even get heard. Anyways, that's the teeter-totter we're playing with right now in collective humanity. Did you want to piggyback on that?
What you're highlighting is really interesting. So much that when there's an analogy that's appropriate here. It's called idealistic, and idealistic is different from having wisdom or experience. Wisdom comes from trying to apply those idealisms, but then learning that there's much more than just staying, let's say, mentally focused on the goal of the ideal. So when you're in high school and you transition into college, which I never went to, I became an archaeologist, but I didn't go through college. But in college, you get fertilized from so many different directions, from so many brilliant minds, and from so many different topics and arts, crafts, and so on and stuff. And so you quickly ascend towards an idealistic state, and you try to apply those idealisms, and you become obsessive in them, and so you crusade. But what's really, and that's part of the journey, part of the journey of maturization. So as you take the time to try to apply the ideals as best as you can, especially for yourself, but in other words and stuff, it's almost like two pointed rocks starting up at the top of the river, and as they bounce off of each other, by the time they reach the end of the river, they're nice and smooth and they harmonize with each other. And that to me is the wisdom of the maturity of taking the idealism and applying it to practical wisdom. And that's what's being required. You know, those individuals are coming up out of, or maybe not even out of the woodwork, but they're being foisted onto the scene. That kind of, and those are the ones that don't really want it. They have a little reservations because they got that dented armor and stuff.
Right.
Then you got a lot of individuals that are coming up, you know, fresh, new, and idealistic and stuff. And, you know, that's good. It changes the structure of the bubble of the paradigm of the reality, right? You know, every pinpoint starts poking it and expanding it. But then maturity helps it leaven or homogenize across the whole, and makes it possible for everybody to appreciate everybody and their experience.
So everybody has a role, even the obsessive, compulsive, crazy people like myself.
Consciousness doesn't like to waste a darn thing.
No, we need our obsessive compulsive.
That's right. Everything has its place.
Right balance. The consciousness of free energy. Into our conversation today, I didn't really think of it like that. I didn't put it into those terms. But, now that we're thinking in these terms of consciousnesses and like AI, you would assume that if AI is a conscious, free energy is a consciousness, right?
Yes.
So how do we create a relationship and a communication with this consciousness?
With that level of consciousness?
With a free energy, free
energy type of consciousness?
Specifically, have you had any dialogues with that? How do we identify?
To me, it would be one of those realizations. I am the other I'm looking at in the eyes right now. And so with that realization, I want to support you in every possible way, but, assistance without interference. Another galactic card.
Okay. Yeah.
Assistance without interference. So everybody, is up to their own recognizance to get to that level of self-stewardship. Mm-hmm. Self-stewardship is from that self-realization and that love, that unconditional, unpolarized, that realization that I am the other and I want to help. And so free energy then is getting, that's that equal value system. Okay, God. It sounds like an advertisement for my wife's Galactic Heritage Card. Yeah. Equal value is seeing the universality in everybody. And so the support for that, if you have the painter's palette in front of you, you can use any of those to assist somebody else, so long as you're sharing and you're assisting, you're not controlling or you're trying to give too much or right.
So
free energy would be in that kind of consciousness. And Tesla demonstrated it. But what did the governments want to do? What did corporates want to do?
Yeah, JP Morgan wanted to.
The history is there.
Yeah,
so it can't come out.
Well, it can't come out unless we have the right relationship with it.
There.
So it's about understanding its consciousness and having right relationship, right? Having a dialogue and having a relationship that is not one in the sense of, exploiting or free energy. The consciousness of the archetypal structure of free energy is free. You can't meter it. You can't own it. You can't make money on it. Like in that sense, it's free for the world, right? So to understand that relationship and then navigating how can that consciousness have relationship in our world with the whole world? Perhaps not right now, probably not.
Right.
But can we get to our place as individuals and collectives where we can have a good relationship with it?
There's communities that have already brought out, the water car, basically, the hydrogen. So,
Stanley Meyer, and the water car that he even.
and there's so many technologies that are, people are awakening to that. We're not disconnected from the universal internet. And so the ideas drop into, little collectives that are ready to share in that way. And I'm sure they're a little protective, as they need to be. They're a little conscious of what it means to share these different levels of technologies because of the way our world is. And right now, you got to be watchful.
Well, and it's also the invitation has to be there, right? So just like with as we were talking about these communities or sustainable communities that have the intention of creating bridges to these other worlds for a safe meeting place for disseminating information and exchanging information, then perhaps in those safe zones, the consciousness of free energy could be easier to access if we think of it in those sorts. Anyways, those are more tangents we can go on.
I'll give you an example. I think you you recorded this story, I think, in Conversations with ED. And I was speaking about when I was working for Honeywell. And Honeywell, at that time, I was sitting in my office. I was responsible for all the production equipment, fixing and repairing them all. And I was sitting in my office, and I was getting these downloads. Later, I found out it's from the light architect from Arcturus. Okay, whatever. This was in the 80s. Be real quiet about this stuff. Well, anyway, it was showing me, using a sphere with an octahedron and then another sphere and then a focus beam light. And it was having me do these experiments at night and using my consciousness and my heart space to work with them. And at one point, I began to experience that as you go to the diamond level in the heart and you project it to the crystalline octahedron and then the two spheres, well, it creates this toroidal field, and there's a rainbow of fields that it creates. And each field has so much beautiful unconditional love, and it helps align you to those spectrums. And as you get close enough, then it becomes white light, then golden light. And then if you go even more naked and vulnerable, then it goes into diamond clear light. And with your eyes closed, you can see in all directions all at once. And they were telling me that this is how we, on our spaceships, this is how we see across time, space, distance, location, see across the quantum and stuff. And so I was thinking, oh man, I'm going to bring this stuff out and I'm going to just help people get aligned. Right. And it'll change the world. And as they can take more frequency, well, then, God, it's going to rock the reality. And one night, after I made that decision, I'm going to work on this until I can bring it out. Well, one night I was working on it again, and this hand came out of the ethers just to the little past, about where my bracelet is, was a physical hand came out of the ethers and stopped it right there. And I said, oh, that's it. I'm packing this shit up. It took me a long time to realize that was me,
right?
On level.
Yep.
And it's okay for me to utilize these things and maybe a certain level, but I didn't understand levels in 1980.
Sure.
I didn't understand all that. I just want, simply, we're going back to the beginning, where we were blind enthusiasm. I had good intentions, but I was being stopped because, somebody would have took that and used it for the wrong thing. So these drop-in happen.
Yep.
And small communities that show, there is no evolution, there is no integration without the root word integrity. Freedom requires integrity. And that was huge. And I didn't understand all that stuff.
Yeah, me too. I mean,
Horror.
yeah, 2013, I'm producing the citizen hearing. I'm pushing for disclosure. I'm pushing for, I'm meeting with inventors and recording their devices. And I'm trying to create TV shows that put awareness on it. And I had run-ins with some shady characters. And I realized I don't want a target on my back. Like, is it worth it? Right? So you then you have to reevaluate your whole thing. And that was actually the inspirations for the show. I was like, well, if I can't beat the system from the outside in, then I have to go inside out. And that's when, I started talking to the channelers, and then I started having a better understanding of, it's like, you can't just dump it on humanity because humanity is not ready. You have, it's both, you want to still keep working on the inventions and the technology, but humanity have to be ready to receive the advanced technology, or else they'll use it they'll misuse it, or a government or a institution or a rogue element or whatever, a not so for humanity group might get a hold of it and turn it into something, weaponize it or something like that. So it was in the early phases, you don't see the bigger picture. You humanity needs this now. That's the obsession. I'm gonna save the world. And then
idealistic.
Idealistic. Yeah. Then you soon realize you're like, okay, I am the same as everybody before me. I came to the same place, and like whack-a-mole, they got smashed down. And I could have continued and got whack-a-mole, or maybe we can go a different direction with this.
Yeah.
So here we are. We're moving right along, right on time.
You've been tested.
Yes. So but we're getting closer. I mean, the conversation now, I haven't had the free energy conversation for years because it just wasn't relevant. And it's starting to seep in a little bit. So get closer.
Well, in our QN groups, one of the things we evolved to was really taking that subject, AI and mechanical intelligence, and really evolving that. And to the point where you begin to see, I'm all frequencies. I can't deny anything because it's all me. It's all part of it. And my job is to help steward where I can more, right?
That's what we're doing.
All the one that puts the responsibility equitably on the whole.
We're all responsible. Quantum navigation, it's a powerful tool in, just to finish up here. What can people access it through your website, or how do people?
If they go to quantumnavigation.net and /library, there you can get, there's 24 videos I put up there with, if you like the stuff I've been talking about and it's too out there for you, then I did 24 videos. I didn't do the beginning ones. I didn't even think people would be interested in this stuff, so I didn't do the beginning ones, but I'm seeing that I need to
Yeah, people are interested.
shape the whole thing, but I don't know. Maybe that's spirit waiting for me to get a little more down the road and then prepare a better foundation.
Because
Yeah.
I mean, it is a long process. It's not something that one quantum navigation session that we did live there. It was an all-night event.
Yeah. Well, no.
No, okay,
Self-realization takes a while. And so um, the I offered
more than
the
one night.
yeah, one and done.
That would
Never works out.
never works
Meditation for life. I put in, the 2-day workshop with that in mind. What you'll need on all the I mentioned that we're consciousness. So if we learn the switches, levers, and dials in consciousness, then we're taking and making the mind a disciplined tool. If you don't, then the masters tell us, then it makes a slave out of you and it makes the worst taskmaster. So when you discipline the mind, then it becomes a magnifier, a tool, magnifying all the frequencies that are available to the heart. And that gets you into naked vulnerability. So anyway, meditation for life, in 2 days, cover quite a lot of material inside of that I've experienced, so that you have the carrots instead of like the old ways they used to teach you, practice this for 10 years and we'll give you the next.
right. Horse stands.
And by then you lose interest.
Yeah.
And then then the preparation for the quantum navigation groups, I do a quantum navigation orientation, a 2-day work, where we take a lot of these subjects and expand on them, so that you have enough groundwork to go into the monthly group work or bi-monthly group work. I'm changing everything now because more and more people are coming to it. So,
Yeah.
and uniquely, I've had several groups now that have been more than a year. So, when they first come in, you got that idealistic state.
Right.
We should change the world this way, this way, this way. And then as you start seeing yourself and start opening up to the roots of unconscious, I haven't processed those yet. So
Right. Yeah.
it opens the self-realization logarithmic ways, and you see, it's not really about just getting to the bliss balloon and running away
Right.
on this or that idealism. No, it's about really applying yourself even more into the roots and stuff, and then opening up to what's available to you, clearing your slate, so to speak, clearing that lens of the dissociations inside of it. So I have members that have been a year through this, and they went back through, the meditation for life, and then, when did you teach this? I go, I taught it at the beginning with last time you were.
Right.
Can only take so much, right?
Right.
It drops in when it drops in.
Mhm.
And that's sacred because you can't force a darn thing. Everybody's on their own unique timing. And so inside of the QN, you get to kind of take the journey in a spiral, ever expanding spiral, and ever
Descending downward.
descending spiral or shrinking spiral. So
Right.
you get to see it more inside and out. You get to see the perspective. So you take the trinity of yourself and how the QM takes you to all these unique experiences and helps you ground it. Yep, you're that, but you're not that. You're much more. And that sets the stage for you to let go of your history, identity, and personality, because be under the test, under the microscope, under the thumb of the conscious collective. Who are you when you don't have purpose? You don't need one. Remember I was saying the ego, the hardest thing for the ego to accept is it's nothing. But paradoxically, it's everything. So it's neat. And that's so hard to take. All of these, those roots that I was showing you, it's so hard to take them and apply them appropriately in your acceptance. in your self-realization so that you can stand even though it's happening in your center. Diamond in the heart. Yeah. The eye of the needle. Pathway. To get through that.
Well, thanks. I mean, I think it's amazing. Your work is, the more and more we dive into this, the key is about neutralization, the eye of the needle, finding the middle ground, not getting polarized, the eye of the storm. These are where we want to be, especially in these very turbulent transitionary times. And your work is really, I think, key to helping us get there in a not so fast way, because it's not always so fast. But you definitely get there, and just thank you for sharing and offering your wisdom and I'm sure we could talk for hours. You have so many amazing experiences. We'll have to bring you back because I know the audience didn't get too many questions in, but I think it's really getting to know you and getting to know your some of your perspectives on things and your modalities that will open up more and more questions, because there's a lot there. There's a lot in that Ron package. We got to unpack.
I don't know who I am anymore.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. That's
well, thank you, Reuben. Your work is so essential. You're spreading it, networking it out. And I love the fact you share about, getting dented, your armor dented, and how you turned it around. I got to go from the inside out.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing more and more, it's dropping into the collective. More and more people are talking shadow work, and I'm going, holy crap. Right.
It is. I mean, that's what Elon tweeted yesterday, and Elon, I know some people are kind of tired of Elon tweeting, but it was amazing. Was it he tweeted, or he was in an interview, and he said basically every conspiracy theory that you could think of that Twitter could be involved in, it's all true. Like, everything is. I don't know if you've been following the Twitter files and all the stuff that's been going on.
Oh, I'm not on Twitter, so I don't know.
Yeah. He's it's really amazing in the sense that there's some big, like you jokingly, it's funny because there's a lot of serious things that he's exposing that we have to look at, for humanity to move forward. But he's doing it in a comedic way. I think not everybody gets his humor, but it's in a nice and very, I think it's graceful in the way it's coming out, and people are there's some heavy disclosures that most of us in these communities knew what was going on and what's been going on with humanity, but it's coming out it's really coming out with these Twitter files, like government spying on us and all that kind of stuff. But he's making light of it, which is nice. It's fun. And, just like his comment yesterday, every conspiracy theory you can think of Twitter, it's actually real. It's true. These are the disclosures that are happening. These are, even Elon, I think, is getting his world jolted and jiggled, and and we're all going through this together. And it's exciting. It's exciting. And especially when we have tools like this and we can see the bigger picture of this is all for our collective evolution. And it's nothing to be fearful of, and it's nothing to be scared of. It's just, okay, we're taking the big leap together, and let's hold hands. Kumbaya. Be awesome.
Along those lines, validate Einstein, I think it was, stated that anything you can imagine, if you know the quantum, it's real.
Absolutely. That's it. Well, cool. Well, thank you. We'll finish up this one, and then guys, if you want to hang out, we'll do a little group chat. And Ron, thank you very much. We're gonna
thank you, everyone. Thank you for listening to my ramblings.
Thanks for tuning in. Hope you like this interview. We actually do this every week on my membership portal page, and you can access it through interviewwithed.org. Or click on the link somewhere in here. I'll put a link, and come over and join us. You too can ask questions. Every week we have new special guests, and you get to ask questions directly to the channelers to the beings that they channel. So see you in the portal.